Whenever we finish one thing, a dozen more seem to take its place. Life here in our farmhouse in France isn't slowing down anytime soon. The growing season has arrived, and with it comes an endless list of things to prepare, one that just keeps getting longer. And just when you feel like you finally have everything under control, life has a way of throwing a few surprises your way. So come along with us and see what we've been up to this week.
Mostly everything is planted now in the greenhouse. There is one row left, and watering is already taking like an hour or two each day. So it's time to set up the automatic watering system. We bought some soaker hose, and I have an old timer that we brought from Sweden, and then some miscellaneous parts left by the previous owner. That should do just fine. Just for now, since also I have ordered some little connections to make the setup cleaner. But for now I'm just gonna run the hose completely whole, front and back, all the way. So we'll be watering between as well. And for now, while laying the pipe, I'm choosing to keep the connections above ground. So instead of putting the T there underground and a pipe in, I'm just putting it there and running a pipe in and then a pipe back to continue. It's not the best use of material, but it doesn't take too much extra, and I'd rather have access to the connections if I need them. So these connections are simple enough, or I prefer to take them off. I guess you don't really have to. Take it off, slide it onto the hose, and there's a little, on this one is a little seal. On most of the other ones there's an O-ring, but they work the exact same way. And just wet it a little bit. And shove it in all the way. And screw it on. These I'm just putting temporarily because I still want to have everything connected most of the way correctly with the T and everything. But then I'll just remove so this is just temporary, so the water doesn't flow out the pipe that's not connected to anywhere. Cleaning up the ends a tiny bit here, so I hopefully don't damage the O-ring inside. Okay, time to turn on the water, see if anything leaks. It's good. Don't see anything leaking. Now let's lay the hose. The hose is now roughly ran through the entire thing, and I'm really curious if it will actually bring water all the way to the end of the 100-meter pipe. I highly doubt it, but might as well test it out. So currently I see it watering the first one and up to half the second one. You can see it's moving. Here's the third bed starting. Okay, yeah. Slowly starting on the fourth. And hopefully once it's built up pressure once, hopefully there will just be a more instant watering. time to prepare for the next one. Gonna put some automatic watering here as well. I think I'm gonna put it here in the corner, so it's gonna be easier for future beds to get water as well. I'm just gonna start by digging a trench here, so that when I drag the line later, it will be easy to have it continue there. And then most likely I'm gonna take one there as well for the chickens in the future, and then all the way to the lower field. Everything is temporarily connected until we continue with it further and fix this. But let's just check if it works. Sure, it takes a while to travel down the whole line. It's leaking a tiny bit. Connection. Okay, now finally starting to come over here. It's time to change this up. We're gonna start with just having one line directly in the middle of each bed, and then I will connect them up at the ends. Got all the connectors, so they'll go. I put a garden hose between, then the soaker hose down the middle of each bed, and then we'll adjust it as needed. Yeah, should be good. Works a lot better than having it in one continuous 100-meter line or 300 feet of line. Seems to be working already a lot better. Time to do the same thing here. Not completely sure how many. Should probably make 2 lines in each bed. I think I have enough hose, but then we're gonna very soon build at least 2 more beds. So I don't know if there's enough water pressure, but yeah. And then I'm gonna add a little exit here, so we can have the water here as well. Down here, at the end, towards the screw. O-ring is here. Lubricate little bits. In. Now it's good. For this bed, I don't have enough tees to make individual lines completely. I have 5 tees, so I'm gonna make at each bed a loop that goes around the bed and terminates again here. And I only have 3 end plugs, although I think with the last line, because it probably gets the least water, I might have it loop into the T on both ends, so it should get some more water. All of them are now connected. Tiny bit missing from the pipe. I had to connect it here with a garden hose. Yeah, let's test if it works. It's watering all the way to the end. This is 100 times better now.
The irrigation system is finally up and running, and we're more than ready to move on with our project. But suddenly, an unexpected setback brings everything to a halt.
Time for a little service on the tractor. Currently it's a super low power on the hydraulics, so I'm gonna replace the hydraulic filter that's inside here. And this cover here is cracked completely. I'm gonna see if I can get someone to weld that. If not, I'll try to weld it myself. So the plan today is just general maintenance and see if we can fix this cover. Seems to have been a good idea to do a little maintenance because this looks like chocolate milk. I guess that's due to quite a bit of water seeping in over the years through the crack and the old boots and stuff. So I've started a little bit, gonna remove this cover, taking the arms off, nothing too complicated. Yeah, it's gonna finish draining here and then start ripping off the cover. See if I can somehow get it out of here without any hoist or any assist. See if I can get it out. Removes both the side covers here. This one is to engage the PTO, the shaft on the rear. I've tried to lift this by hand, but there was no chance. So I'm gonna try it with the mini excavator. See if it can handle the weight. Alright. The digger managed to do this, barely. Not because of the weight, just because of how high it can lift. And I can use this time to change the hydraulic filter down here, clean up all this mess. So I tried removing the filter, and it seems like it's been a few years since this one got any attention. So now I'm kind of worried about the state of the pump and everything. Maybe that's the reason for the loss of power, is just ruined. Now it's just a question of what to do with this. Here's the hydraulic piston for the 3-point system in the back. Found a neighbor that happened to have a tractor rotting in his field with the same cover. So there's no need to weld, I'll just use this one. Just need to remove everything and inspect it, take it completely apart. I think I'm gonna use mostly the parts from my cover. Seem to be in a little better condition, except for maybe this. Looks like the exact same one, but I'll figure it out soon enough. So the cover I got from the neighbor seems in okay shape, so just the cover. Everything else is much worse than on my tractor. Currently fighting this nut that goes in here, trying to get it out. I think I'm gonna weld a rod to it and try just to get it to start moving. And then comes the very nerve-wracking part of disassembling my cover and then putting everything in without damaging anything. So hopefully it goes well. So I didn't find any easy way to weld anything to it, but I'm gonna continue a little bit like this, trying to heat it up super warm, and then with a chisel and hammer and try and continue getting it out, trying to knock it loose. After beating on it for one day, I finally got it out, and good thing I'm changing this over because spring is broken and this is all completely seized. Now it's time to clean this cover as best I can and then start disassembling the other one. Like so. This all separately is because there's one bolt behind here that's attached to the piston and we can't get to it. And it's time to remove the 4 big nuts for the piston, so this can all be taken out. There they are, these 4. Okay, like so. Pull it through, like so. Gonna try removing this the other way. Should give me the movement I need to take the rest apart. Definitely gonna need these for the other cover. These sleeves, they seem quite new. They definitely weren't sitting very tightly in there, but alright. So here it was, I had some lock on one of these controls, so I couldn't go further. I remove it, move them all the way, then it easily comes out. here's the little tab that was quite in my way. Bolt securing this is removed, and it's just to pray that we can get it out in one piece. Broke the other one, so there is no spare. Gotta be a lot more careful. I'm very happy I decided to start with the old cover, dismantling, so I could learn a little. Alright, got it out. Everything's still relatively straight. That's the complete old cover inside here. Now it's just for the super hard part. Getting this out in one piece because it destroyed the other one, getting it out. And I had a broken spring and completely non-functional. So I can barely believe it, but I just barely touched it and it started going. So that's a huge, huge relief.
The tractor is essential to life on our farm. We rely on it for cutting grass, making wood chips, lifting heavy loads and moving dirt. So while Gisli works on fixing it, a lot of our other tasks are left on hold, and they're piling up fast.
Time to see if we can get this back together. Okay, something less bludgeoning. Poke my finger to death. Yeah, yes. Wow! That sucked anyway. Ow. So I'm still waiting for the manual and some few tools. Not that any tools were really available to do this adjustments, but we're getting close to the stage where we're just going to be adjusting this. Has cleaned up quite nicely. Just gonna work on assembling everything. Filter goes down there. It's usually you reach it through this hole, so you don't have to take the whole cover off. And then I've done little things, changed these boots so rain doesn't go in there anymore. Change the oil and the filter, and gonna do the fuel filters next. So there's nothing really to changing these filters, other than I only got 2 seals for each filter, and the primary filter takes 3. So I'm reusing the top seal here of the secondary fuel filter, and then you get a new seal for the shaft here that goes into the filter. And I'm just reusing the copper washer because it's normally better washers, the old ones. I just anneal them, so heat them up and cool them down quickly to make them soft and pliable again, so that they seal a little better. Not sure how I'm gonna bleed the air. First things first, we can open for the fuel. It's up here. I think I'm just gonna crack this one loose, wait until something comes out, and close it again, and then try starting it. Just really hope I'm not draining everything. I probably am draining from there as well, but see if it won't fire up after this. And now I just have a steady flow, no more air bubbles. Alright, it's good, so pretty much bled itself. To calibrate this one, there's needed a special tool here to make sure the piston travel doesn't go too far and crash into the
casing of the tractor, which is probably what had been happening and the reason the other cover was cracked. And now I'm gonna do something ill-advised and found the measurements for the tools online. You can buy them, but I only found one that's around 120 euros delivered and takes like a month to get here from Britain. So I'm gonna make it as close as I can and calibrate the cover and see if we can't get it to where it functions properly and doesn't crash into the tractor. Alright, so pretty much have just followed the drawing so far, all in inches and fractions of inches. And I had some bent bolts that I'm using as the studs, like so. And then the only thing left to do is to cut half an inch up at a 45-degree angle here, this section where the piston meets here, so it will stop it at the correct place, and then we can, well, figure out how to make the rest of the calibration tools, and it should be good. And the instruction manual is arriving today, so I know the specifications for the calibration. The tool has now been cut down to precisely the right size. I think I need to add a tiny little shim here because I cut a tiny bit too much. Then the second part of this tool is that there's supposed to be a separate tool that bolts to here to put some weight on this arm for when you set all the levers. And it needs a roller and a string coming to here to hold some tension on it. So I am thinking of making this make it just an all-in-one tool. So I welded something like this and then drill a hole and use this as a roller for the string, so it keeps even tension on the arm. And you're supposed to put 3 pounds of pressure here. Need to just weld this and drill the hole. If I want it to be pulling straight, pretty much have to put it up here in the corner. This is fine by me. Just drill a hole and then I can adjust where the roller is later, so it's completely straight with the arm. And this tool is ready. Both the distance for here, the weight for the arm, and there's only one tiny tool needed that I know of, and that's to force this one to be extended all the time. So we don't want it to move in and out. We want it to be secure, so when we do change the settings on the arms, that it doesn't go in at all. So force it to be always open. And here's the simplest solution I could think of to hold this one extended. So now no matter how I move the arms now, it's completely locked, doesn't move. So now we're starting the adjustments of the draft position with the correct weight hanging on the arm and setting this gap here to the correct measurement until it just slightly drags in the gap between, and just have to retighten it, check the gap again, and then move over to setting the position. Thankfully now I have the book and some reference videos. Hopefully this doesn't smash the tractor. Now I've set the position control as well. This was the draft control. This is to adjust the position control. if you ever do this job, you definitely want to remember to cut the covers on both sides, remove them, and on this side you want to remember to take this roller out before you lift the cover, and this is how it's positioned afterwards. So when you use the draft control or position control, it moves. It's getting quite close now, just the final touches left. Fill it up with hydraulic fluid and just pray nothing explodes. It's been 9 days since I started ripping this apart and have done everything now, full service, and replaced the hydraulic cover and little things here and there, sealing some hoses and stuff that had been dripping a little. So now it's time to test and pray that the piston doesn't run into the hydraulic or into the casing of the tractor again. Try it out. Well, everything moves as it should, but I'm not completely sure about all the positions of the levers, how they should be. Previous owner, to work the hydraulics, he made a little line where it should be, but I'm just not sure I trust it anymore since it broke the cover. I have it marked here to see when the piston is actually fully extended and hitting the cover. Now I'm just not sure if it actually needs to be pushing against the cover to operate the shovel. I need to read more about it, figure it out. Tractor's working mostly alright. Everything seems to work except for these arms not going far enough down. So they were on the correct side. They are slotted. So there's only one way you should be able to fit them on. Even though it's only a tiny little spot here that is the slot. So I'm thinking about filing it away and doing the wrong thing and just putting them exactly where I want them. Inside it's also slotted, so I have no idea why it is like this now, that it just stops in a very certain place and goes up to here and only down to here, while before you could barely fit a finger under it. So yeah, it's gonna file away the little thing there and do the wrong thing, but it should work. Still have no idea how I should have done this properly, but at least now it works. It can push just as far as it did before. So let's hope that's good enough. Now we're about to start making wood chips for the 2 new beds we're making over there.
With the tractor back in action, we're finally able to push ahead. First job, making wood chips for the garden paths, and that's just the beginning. There's a lot more coming, so stick around and see what's up next week.